Now, this happens too when we dream. Occasionally we have a dream that's so convincing that, at least during the dream, we take it to be reality. And then, when we have a dream like that, it's when we wake up that we're astonished to find it wasn't reality. It was a dream. Now, I've made a little drawing here that I want to refer to. Okay, this is time, this line here, this is time proceeding forward to the right, as in this culture, that's our convention. And this is a dream that you have at night. This one too, and this is another night, this is another night, and this is a space, what we're doing during the day, it's in here. And this is our life. This is a bigger bubble. This is when you're born, this is when we die. So, and this is schematic. It's not meant to have the right number of days in it or anything. But it just has this shape because when you're in a dream, let's say here, if you're having this dream here, maybe it's a very real dream, but you can't from this dream remember that dream, or that dream, or that dream, even though they're in the past. Whereas when you're here, after the dream, you wake up, then you can remember everything that happened in your life up here, and when this is the waking state, and you might be able to remember even the dreams of the various nights in your past. Generally we don't remember them very well, but in principle we have access to them. So what happens when we wake up from a dream? We're going along and having this dream, and all the time we're having the dream, it seems real. Can't see it. Then, when we wake up and we come here, a little dot there, from here, we have we're able to look at this dream, consider this dream, and come to the conclusion, it wasn't real, it was a dream. Now, what I'm hoping for here is a transaction very similar to that, where we look at a dream and we think, oh my gosh, that was a dream. What I want us to do is, I want us to be able to look at this and see that this is a dream too. Now, the difference between the sleeping dream and the waking dream is a big difference. When you're having a sleeping dream, it's a dream irrespective of the surroundings. Could dream of anything. But say maybe a sailboat and wind and water. This is without a sailboat or wind or water. You have the dream of it anyway. Now here, when you're in this zone here, you can have a very similar experience. But in this case, wind and water and a sailboat are required. But you suppose, what's the likelihood that if our consciousness can pose as anything at all, like a sailboat, here, without a sailboat, don't you think it's pretty likely that with the help of a sailboat, you could also pose as a sailboat? Well, this was what happens. And then what happens is, we look at the dream that we're having of the sailboat while we're up here, in the presence of a sailboat. When we're on the sailboat, we're having a dream of being on the sailboat. And we're watching the dream the way we watch the dream when we're here. Eyes closed, head on the pillow. We still watch the dream though. But here, when we're up in the waking state here, what happens is we watch the dream and we recognize it as reality. And this is how it works. This is how our consciousness works. Our consciousness poses when we're awake. It poses as our surroundings. This is what makes the world visible to us. Now, this has implications. It has ontological implications, which is to say, it has implications that have to do with who we are. And personally, in my spare time, this is of more interest to me than the epistemological implications, which has to do with knowledge. Epistemology is a branch of philosophy that has to do with knowledge and how we know things and so on. Because this has all the epistemological implications of this fact have real social implications. See, here's what happens. We go about. See, as I look around, the world becomes visible to my eyes. And as I recognize my experience, my dream, my experience of the surroundings, as the surroundings, the dream becomes invisible. And what I'm left with is, I think I'm experiencing the world directly. You know how we say, we look out through a window? You look out through the windshield, oh, the windshield's too dirty. I can't see out through the windshield. So we clean it. We construe that our sight goes out and kind of feels the environment, the material world around us. Now, this does not happen. No more than is there a big colored object in the sky that we call a rainbow. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to see a rainbow, and it's even more wonderful to be able to walk around and to be able to drive a car, to be able to think you're seeing the world and mistake your dream of the car and the road and everything, and successfully, go somewhere and not kill anybody or kill yourself or run into, a telephone pole or something. And incidentally, I do not believe that that our experience of reality causes the world. I mean, I think that's extravagant. I think the world's there, and we do have an experience of it inside, and we do misrecognize our experience as the world. That's true. But see, that's just how it works. All the critters do the same thing. When a sweat bee comes here and looks at me, he's got a zillion eyes. He doesn't see a zillion images. He sees the world like we do. Better, maybe. A little different, but basically the same. And he also thinks he sees the world directly, just like we do. In fact, even if you understand this perfectly, the problem, the experience of seeing the world directly, it doesn't go away. It's just that you're able to contemplate it, and then hopefully, be more respectful of other people. This space up here is the world. We share. This is shared space. It's because we share the world with each other. These are private. I'm not saying, maybe it happens sometime that I have a dream and my sweetheart has the same dream. This is rare though, if it ever happens. But this is normal. If we're in the same room, we have not exactly the same dreams, but I'm in your dream and you're in mine, if we're in the same room. And the room, part of the dream, is shared. We share that room. We share the world with each other. So this is shared space. Now, the problem with, what in philosophy, and I should mention that I don't particularly identify. See, I'm not a student of philosophy. I've never studied philosophy much. And maybe I will, but so far it hasn't happened much. I've just heard certain, read a little bit and heard certain things. And what philosophers call naive realism is what I'm referring to. It's a commonly understood idea in philosophy. It's the idea that you experience the world directly. That you actually see the world. This is the way it seems to us. And what I'm saying is, about that even if you understand it, even if you see through the illusion, just like if you see a rainbow and you understand how the rainbow works, you still see the rainbow the same way. It's just that you realize that there's millions of rainbows happening, one with each raindrop. But you still see the rainbow just like anybody else. Like that. Even the people who have seen through the illusions of perception and reality, everyone, the birds and the bugs and everybody, we all go about under the somewhat heavy burden of living with the experience of naive realism. We all think we experience the world directly. We all experience it as though nothing is mediating between our experience of the world and the world. But it's not so. All our experiences of reality actually are part of what we should understand to be philosophy. And our perceptions and the conclusions that we draw on the basis of them it's mind stuff. It's not because we're in direct contact with reality. We are not. That's why a good illusionist can make us experience anything he wants. Once you understand the principles of illusions, you just design the illusion first, and then you figure out a way to pull it off. That's because what we call, raw experience, what we experience as ordinary experience is, even though it seems like nothing is there mediating our experience, it's at least half interpretation already. It's interpretive. Between what happens in the back of the brain and the front. There's a lot going on. I want to share with you a little poem, I guess, by Kabir, who was a 15th century Indian, son of Muslim parents, heavily influenced, I suppose, by the Sufis. Kabir says, have you heard the music that no fingers enter into? Far inside the house, entangled music. Suppose you scrub your ethical skin until it shines, but inside there's no music. Then what? Mohammed's son pores over words and points out this and that. But if his chest is not soaked dark with love, then what? the yogi comes along in his famous orange. But if inside he is colorless, then what? The ontological implications of this understanding of how waking state consciousness works in our lives are not small, and I don't intend to say much about it, but I want to at least mention something. It means that everything we've ever experienced has been our own, the experience itself has been our own creation. And this is true of everyone you know, and all the critters. If this were very clear to us, I think we would probably tend to treat each other better than we do, with more respect, more love maybe, more appreciation. That's what I would hope for. And if we could understand, if we contemplate a little bit the fact that even what we think is, direct experience of reality, and we all experience the world that way. We think we do. See, that it makes us feel self-sufficient and arrogant. We don't think we need to ask anybody about the nature of reality. The way we experience the world is such that we think that any reasonable person would agree with us. See, this is because we don't realize that our consciousness is mediating, and it's our own creation is mediating. It's like the bricks that are between, like the mortar that's between bricks. The mortar is your philosophy in general. All the mind stuff that connects you to reality. Now, the purpose of the mortar, and what's good about it, is that it sticks the bricks together. It connects the bricks to the foundation, connects the bricks to each other. And no one complains about the fact that the mortar holds the bricks apart, that it keeps them separated. But it does. They do. The mortar does do that. There's no way around that. That's the relationship, you see, between our philosophy and the world, reality. Unavoidably, what's good about it is that it connects us. Our understandings and our perceptions connect us to the real world, the material world, and give us the power to live in the world. But it's there, the way mortar is between bricks. And so it also separates us. It's there. And it's only because we think it isn't there. We experience life as though it isn't there, perceptually. It's not difficult to understand it, understand this in regard to ideas. But in perceptions, that's not easy. If you can entertain that idea once, you've done a greater thing, in my opinion. Then that's a greater insight than Newton's insight about the nature of gravitation and how the great spheres hang and float about in the sky due to the same laws as what we call everyday gravity. I once had the good fortune to hear Bucka White, a black Delta blues man from Mississippi, do a concert when I was living in Seattle. He came there and did a concert that I was able to attend. It was a real treat, partly because of his personality. He he says, "I lie sometime, but I don't lie all the time." He has the, he had the cheek to sort of excuse himself for lying sometimes, on the basis that most of the time you tell the truth. Anyway, he came out on the stage and he did a set for us. There's probably only a couple hundred people in the audience, but he did a whole set with a guitar and singing. He sang songs to it. He did what he did, And then we had a break, and he came back and he played the piano. And when he sat down to play the piano, he says, "I'm just going to play the piano for you till the piano player comes." And then he did a whole other set, a second set, singing songs and playing the piano. And when he finished that set, he says, "That's how my daddy taught me how to play the piano till the piano player comes." Now, I think we would do well to make use of that principle, and go ahead and make do with ourselves, such as we are, and maybe someone will come along, that can do better. But meanwhile, it's up to us to do something. I'm going to have the nerve to model this right now, shortly, because I want to share a song with you. So you just have to understand, this is just till the piano player comes. Okay.